Systems engaged. Frequencies synchronized. Prepare for incoming transmission. Coming to you from somewhere in the multiverse, this is Robots from Tomorrow. This show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, and as always your podcatcher of choice. For the full archive featuring over 800 episodes of comics and comics-friendly content like interviews, book discussions, and freeform tomfoolery, please go to robotsfromtomorrow.net. Here is your host, Greg.
Hello everybody, either welcome to the show or welcome back to the show, whichever the case may be. This is, of course, Robots from Tomorrow. My name is Greg. Thank you for joining me. I hope this episode finds you well as we are starting yet another year, 2026. How is that even possible? I don't know. But new year, new thing we are trying for the first time today, something a little different. This episode includes a commentary discussion about the Justice League Unlimited episode for the Man Who Has Everything. So whether you're watching it on DVD, Blu-ray, streaming, or whatever, get it to the beginning of the episode. We are starting right from the fade in to Bugs Bunny leaning against the Warner Brothers shield with the carrot. I'm going to give a countdown, going to press play, and go from there. Zach, are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. In 3, 2, 1, pressing play. Here we go.
And there we are.
Best commentary ever.
I know.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be great. So this was actually Dwayne McDuffie's idea to do this adaptation. The adaptation was done by J.M. DeMatteis, who had not read the comic beforehand. He just was like,
Wow.
Okay, I'll just do this thing. And
That's wild for such a big name comic writer to have not read one of the biggest words from arguably the biggest name comics writer. That's wild.
Yeah. But I listened to an interview and he was like, no, he just worked like from the material and just went from there. So one of the big things about this is, of course, it's the original comic had Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. This has Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, but it also is the DC animated versions of these characters, obviously. So the Superman that we see here, the Krypton that he refers back to, is much different in the episode versus the comic. And I think the episode does a really good job of maintaining the spirit of the comic, but using the material of their continuity to give you an emotionally resonant version. So we have seen Superman with the Black Mercy already installed. We are now on the very iconographic whatever intro. Yeah, I just talked right on over that. But
yeah, this is just
it's good stuff.
It's so good. I just cannot believe that to this day I can't believe that this existed on television, or arguably one of the best adaptations of the DC universe, even though I haven't seen a lot of this. I just know from its pedigree, and it's wild that it evolved to this point, that you had a DC series on television that had such deep cuts in it. Just even seeing from the silhouettes in the beginning, there was still Aztec of all people. It's just, it's crazy.
So this is, I think, the only piece of adaptation that Alan Moore allowed his name to be on, because Bruce Timm ran it by him before they did it. He gave his blessing, and he watched the episode, and he's like, "Yeah, really good. So it says, from the story by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons, and not the original writer and Dave Gibbons, or just Dave Gibbons.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about me only doing audio commentaries for adaptations of Alan Moore comics, but I'm 2 for 2 now.
Yeah. So we're now in his Black Mercy dream, and he is a farmer, which is interesting. In the original comic, he was a scientist, a geologist, and we'll see, obviously, the lady that he is married to, laying next to, is not Lana, is not Lois. It is Loana, but voiced by Dana Delaney, who, of course, was the voice of Lois in the original series. Superman here, of course, is voiced by George Newbern, who is the Superman of the Justice League. I almost said United, of the Justice League animated verse, taking over from Tim Daly, who was in the Superman animated series. One of the big things here is, of course, they are working from a Superman who considers himself to have grown up in Kansas, right? Like, he's the farmer, he's the farm boy. So his perfect thing would be, much more of an agricultural type of background, very sort of post-crisis versus pre-crisis understanding of the situation. So now we're back. I guess one of the biggest things is that the original comic had Jason Todd in it. And
Yes.
here there is no Jason Todd. And I think that's a really interesting decision. I think there are a lot of things that can go into it. But we now have Mongol showing up, voiced by Eric Roberts.
Jaundiced account.
Yeah.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
in this continuity, we had already seen Mongol. We'd seen the Justice League go to Warworld and basically kick his ass. So Batman is like, "Oh, you," and he's like,
Yeah.
jaundiced account of whatever.
To my knowledge, Jason Todd was never in the in this continuity, correct?
Correct. But he is in the original. Is in the original comic, and maybe his best. Alan Moore gives him he kind of saves the day in the original book. But here we get to see Mongol. I think Eric Roberts does a fantastic job as sleazy Darkseid, which is what I almost said Thanos, is what Mongol. You have Darkseid, and then you have Thanos, who was a ripoff of Darkseid, and then you have Mongol, who was a ripoff of Thanos and Darkseid. So you get this menacing alien that Wonder Woman just tried to beat up, and he just is chuckling that off. But vocally, like, you want evil menace, you go with Michael Ironside. Michael Ironside did Darkseid. So they're like, who else can we get who's not trying to compete with that? And Eric Roberts does a fantastic job in this episode. Does Brainiac look like Herbie?
Yeah, big time. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I wonder if that's an influence there.
It had to be. This does. I like these are Kryptonian clothes, a Krypton influenced by something you guys just read, Man of Steel, right? The John Byrne.
Yeah, this John Byrne, the John Byrne Krypton aesthetic, but like by way of the Timverse style, which
so good.
It is really good. Yeah. I mean, this stuff is extremely iconic. I think the Byrne additions to like the visual language of Superman is like up there with the original Superman movie. I think those are like the two biggest modern additions to the Superman aesthetic, arguably.
Yeah. We're getting some family stuff here, which is good. We don't really get that in the comic. But this is a different Clark that we're seeing, and it also sets up when we're setting up his bliss now, so that when it gets ripped away, it helps justify how absolutely pissed off he gets when he's finally freed from this. Bruce trying to, nope, and no.
So at this point in JLU, are Clark and Lois an item? Does she know about his identity? Is that like part of the character at this point?
No, I think their kind of relationship is later in, I think it's like season 2 or later in season 1. So they're never like an item, but like they never, it hasn't come to that. I think this is sort of the very beginning, like, of that type of.
Okay. So yeah, it makes sense that in his perfect world, he would have that kind of relationship, I guess, to be highlighting that.
Yeah. But yeah, married life. He is having sort of the best day, but we start to see the ground beneath him is shaking. So you get earthquakes and stuff. And it's this sort of growing motif that comes through in the episode and in his interactions, this growing unease. So this scene, she gets thrown into the weapons room. His dialogue right here is directly out of the episode, or is out of the comic. The design of the neural disruptor, whatever that she's aiming at him, that is a Dave Gibbons design. This is very spot on with what happened. Even her, like, go to hell, and of course, standards of practice, you can't actually say that. The beam comes in to cut her off, but you see her mouth moving. So you're like, if you wanted to be like super particular about that, it's like she said it. And Batman is not able to save Superman. So he's trying to get Superman to wake up. Superman is trying internally. But now we see that Superman is visiting his father because, of course, Krypton did not blow up. So that means Jor-El is still there. His father, voiced by Christopher McDonald, Shooter McGavin himself, who also played Jor-El in the original Superman animated series, Last Son of Krypton opener, whatever. So a nice bit of carry through casting there. Let's see. Yeah, so I think in terms of not having, so all of this stuff, Wonder Woman fighting Mongol, she did that in the original. I think the not having Jason Todd or not having Robin does a couple of things. It helps streamline the episode. It's one less character you have to account for and explain. It gives Wonder Woman more to do, right? Mm-hmm. It gives her more agency. It doesn't diffuse not that the comic diffuses, but certainly in something that's being shown to children, right? It pushes her a little further to the foreground of representation, of having her be not only more in the episode, but she's going toe to toe with somebody who Superman has a problem with, right? Like she's being shown to have agency and just as much of the Trinity as the other two. Mm-hmm. So it was I think it's a good decision, and in a way that works for this particular setting, right? These are the toys that they have to play with in order to sort of build this adaptation. And they're like, well, we can't just sort of shoehorn in this new character to have to do all this stuff. What do we have? How can we make what we have work for trying to tell this story in a new medium or in a different medium?
Yeah, because it's certainly a choice, because it would have been very easy to just throw in a like a Tim Drake or another Robin to try to match the story. But I agree with your point about it streamlining it and make already you're adapting it into just a 20-minute episode. So I think focusing on the Trinity makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so this section right here, that's it. So this is where we've gotten to the point Superman has already decided that this isn't real. He's talking to Van, his son. This is all directly from the dialogue is directly from the comic, but George Newbern sells this. Oh, it's so good. I'm glad I don't have the sound up, because I always get a little choked up when I see this, because it's so good. Yeah. But we are 14 minutes into the episode, sort of 2/3.
It is flying. You're very much right. Flying. Yeah. Like,
yeah. But this moment, they gave you just enough. Like, okay, we see he's got a kid. We have domestic moment to sort of sell this, to help sell this. We see him in like 2 or 3 little scenes, and then we see Krypton, his world literally falling apart in front of him as he kisses Van's head, and the kid is just, oh man. And then he hugs him again. Yeah. And of course, the music is swelling, which can't hear, thankfully. Big explosion. Krypton blows up again. Batman takes the Black Mercy unto himself. And we get to see his best day, which you're like, him and his folks leaving a theater. Joe Chill. How is this the best day? Not the pearls.
Oh, it's always the pearls. The pearls falling.
What?
It's always the pearls falling.
Not always.
Not now.
Because
oh, that smile.
Yeah. Oh, so good. Yeah. And that wasn't, did we see? I don't know. Shoot. I don't know if that was, if we actually had visual for that in the comic. Anyway.
In the original, yeah.
Yeah. So Superman is now awake. He is super pissed. And he is looking to, he's looking to just beat the living hell out of Mongol. So this is choreographed beat for beat the way that the comic is. The comic obviously also gives us captions around this, so Moore is able to sort of describe what's going on kind of in the alien zoo that they're having this fight in. But I mean, you look at Clark is pissed. In some ways, even just as much when he finally fights, or I guess by this time he's already done it, Darkseid, after Darkseid killed Dan Turpin. Whatever. So this is really, but yeah, this tearing off your own arm, that's all more. And now we have sort of the commercial break there. Wonder Woman still fighting, going over to Batman as Superman is not really holding his own all that much around Mongol. Yeah. Yeah, we get the famous burn line here. Oh, so we've got Wonder Woman makes her way over to Bruce, who of course is not going to be able to free himself either physically, maybe mentally, but like not physically from this actual from the Black Mercy vampirically stuck to his chest. And I wonder how much of that is like a mental thing versus physical. Anyway, Wonder Woman, we needed Wonder Woman's strength to be able to save Bruce here. But of course, Bruce's world going from the best day. If we look back in the shadow, and Bruce is free, but at a cost. And no pearls. Thankfully, no pearls.
No pearls, yeah.
No pearls, but yeah. So, yeah, again, DeMatteis is like, I don't need to rewrite the dialogue. This is pretty pitch perfect, paced perfectly. And just look at how, man, you know, Clark is pissed in a way that we just never get to see him.
We don't, yeah.
You know?
Well, it's so interesting about Clark's thing is that he saves everyone, and he, even though none of that was real, it is almost as if he kind of like lost Krypton again, and even more so.
Yeah. There's the losing, the planet, but also the personal part of it, right? Which, and everyone's like, well, Superman's too powerful. Nobody can hurt him. I was like, you watch this episode, right? You go for the heart. That's how you get Superman. And we just saw Wonder Woman throwing the Black Mercy that she picked off of Batman onto Mongol, taking out him. And what you're not going to be able to hear now is that this episode is going to end on a fade or a zoom in on Mongol. You're going to be able to hear very briefly or very low, like screams and pain and whatever, which is a really good way of being able to suggest the ending of the actual comic, which is an entire page of Dave Gibbons stuff that shows us what Mongol's perfect day is, which is him ruling the galaxy and sitting on a throne and having a throne that's like a throne of skulls and all of that stuff, which is what his thing was. Of course, standards and practice is to be like, hell no. They're like, okay, well, how about we just put this thing in low in the mix behind the thing, and they got away with it. So that's the episode. Unfortunately, I talked over most of it while you were trying to watch it.
No, it was good. It was all good. I enjoyed some of the insight that you were.
Thank you for listening. Systems disengaged.